First, I'd like to congratulate you for winning the award of digital transformation today. So, congratulations.
Thank you. I am super excited. It's been an interesting and incredibly fast-paced journey so far. And one thing for sure, honestly, almost I think the heavy lift was done by the team at Hitachi. So it's really their efforts in the award.
Yeah. And, talking about the journey, you mentioned this morning during the keynote that your digital transformation journey really started 3 years ago,
Yeah.
but not until you found a partnership in Hitachi did it start going the right direction, so to speak. Can you share a little bit about, both from a business outcome perspective as well as your collaboration?
When you come from a world which is very hardware oriented, every single piece of a machine is a self-contained unit. And I think when you switch from there to a digital world or digital transformation world, then you have this tendency to go into a widget sort of a mindset, right? Whereby you think digital is about a widget. But in all reality, it's a mindset. So we did start our journey about 3 years ago. But I think the challenge was that we started with thinking about one widget and we really committed to it. But now thinking about it, and our challenge was that we thought data and insights, is way too complex. We have to have lots of complicated insights and lots of, big data lakes and all sorts of things. We didn't know what they are. So we thought, we'll address all that stuff in phase two. Phase one, let's figure out a widget and let's make it work. But we were so wrong, right? And I think till really the previous next, and the engagement with Hitachi was really the first time where we figured out, this data is not a really complex story. And in reality, whatever you want to do in digital, you have to start with data. And you have to make that run, otherwise nothing else seems to work, right? And that's why things we couldn't make them work in 3 years. Now with the right data and processing it with Pintao, now everything seems to be clicking much faster.
Mm-hmm. And early on, you also mentioned that prior to being here, you thought you were 10 years behind. And, having arrived, you realize you're only 2 to 3 years behind. So can you share some details?
Yes, so in oil and gas, we have a history of letting technologies mature. And when they are really, really mature, and we are at least 2 decades into maturity of these things, then we say, actually we can switch to these, right? Like digital control, 1980s, the car manufacturings these assembly lines were already there, and we did not start with these AC drives or digital controls till early 2000s, right? We are very, very risk averse for a few reasons, but also because the risks in our industry are very high, right? You get it wrong, the customer does not get to deliver what they want to deliver, and much more importantly, could be a safety and environmental issue. So that's why you really, really want everything to work very well before you put it there. And that's why I thought, when we get into digital, we must be at least 10 years behind, because usually we are 20. And I think the beauty is the whole world, and at least the industrial side, not the consumer side, the industrial piece of it is taking this journey together. So I think when I came here last year, we were probably 2, 3 years behind. But now what we have done in 7 months with Hitachi, I think we are at pace, or maybe just slightly behind, but not too bad.
Oh, that's good. That's good news. Yeah. So having, perhaps attended some keynote sessions and breakouts and, seeing the solution showcase, do you have any key observations that get you excited?
We moved to US 5 years ago. I was with a big oil field services company, so we've been around the world. And the first day I got here, I had my Tesla, right? So I said, look, I'm going to commit to reducing whatever I can do on the environmental footprint, right? I've always bought carbon, credits on my electricity bill, right? And I thought, I was doing okay. But really the one key message which I got here, reinforced every day with really lots of enthusiasm, is Powering the good, yeah, powering the good, right? And if you look at these keynotes as well, they are so well balanced. I don't know if anyone who did not have that environmental sensitivity or that powering the good component or major component there, right? So, one key thing I'm taking back with the rest of my colleagues is how do we really, we are doing lots of things to make that impact, but how do we make it our core job, whereby the core job is not just how to make it more efficient, but how do we make it more responsible? And honestly, when you do things for the right reasons, they have all the right side effects as well, right? So when you do things for right, responsible reasons, they'll be more efficient.
So what's next for precision drilling? What's the next big thing?
Drilling is like golf. Sometimes you hit a phenomenal shot, and sometimes you actually have a disastrous shot, right? And it could be right after each other. And drilling these days is no different. In terms of consistency, we can drill a record-breaking well, and the very next well could be a complete fiasco in terms of performance. And I think that consistency issue comes from it's a super complex and not a very well understood process, right? Which means that it will need two things to have a step change improvement. It will need the insights and this whole data story, Hitachi involvement, situational awareness, everything else we are working on is really figuring out how do I get the right person, the right data in the right format at the right time, right? So that piece. And even when you have the insight piece correct, you then need to figure out how do you translate these insights or how do you bridge the gap between these insights and execution, which is the automation piece. So if you think about automation, I think the industry average is 8%. 8% of the processes are automated today across the industry. I think this whole digital transformation, Industry 4.0, the intention is to take it from 8 to 25%. I think we can get to 50% efficiency gains. So when we get precision to that 50% level from today's level in terms of efficiency gains, or if it takes us 10 days to drill a well, when we start drilling these wells consistently in 5 days, I think the phase one of our journey would be pretty much done.
That sounds exciting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Oil and gas industry is a very close-knit community. And do you think some of the innovations you and your team are driving at precision drilling is considered a best practice that could benefit your peers in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was on two panels here, and we do that regularly in oil and gas. I mean, there is a conference every 2 weeks, I think. So, absolutely. I think, again, if we are really sincere to that vision whereby we need to be environmentally responsible, then if we find something which makes us much more efficient, I actually think it's our core responsibility to make sure other people do understand. Now, they adopt it or not, that's a separate story. And then the competition is not about I have a, secret weapon and you don't. The competition is who gets to do it better than someone else, right? So it's a, even playing field, and our execution is better, right? So yes, absolutely. I would love for everyone to get on board on this one.
That's a perfect segue into my closing question, because I actually noted this down when you were delivering your talk this morning. You said the only company that will survive in our industry are the ones that embrace digital transformation. So considering oil and gas is typically lagging behind in the digital curve, what would be your piece of advice for your peers?
We have a very long history. Like Brian was saying yesterday, 20th century was the oil economy, right? So we have 100+ years of momentum, which tells us we'll be fine, right? And human problem is we always miss the inflection points. We always project in straight lines, right? So, yeah, 100 years was working. It's going to keep on working, fine. But if in reality you see, for example, if you take the stock performance of everyone in oil field services sector, and we were talking about it this morning, every one of us is at our 15, 20-year lows right now. And it's not a surprise if you did the same thing for taxis or you did the same thing for blockbuster videos where there is a technology disruption. That's exactly what happens, right? You have a nice long growth curve and then it drops down. I think sooner we realize that it's not a temporary issue, it is actually a technology disruption, sooner we will get on board on how to fix it rather than blaming it on politics or oversupply or not responsible investing, right? It is a technology issue. Then you have to figure out how do we fix it and solve it and get out of it. You do it the same way as taxis and Uber. You we find out what's that disrupting technology and then you get good at it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.